You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Virginia-based singer-songwriter David Arn currently has 3 albums. 3 of his music videos have been awarded Film Festival Awards. He has been featured on NPR radio stations and BBC radio, and one of his songs was actually in rotation on Delta Airlines commercial flight. His latest album is Traveler Tales. On this edition of Americana Music Profiles, David joins me as we talk about his musical career and his latest release. Hi, David. Welcome to the podcast today.
Hey, Greg. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good to have you on. And we had a few moments to catch up before we got started, which was fun, too. And unfortunately, we don't get to include all of those little side bunny trails that we get going down. But it was fun getting started, and we're going to let the listeners in on the rest of this conversation. You are in Virginia Beach, right?
I'm in Virginia Beach, absolutely. Yeah.
Has that been home from the beginning?
Well, not from the beginning. No, we've lived in several different places in Virginia. Lived in Charlottesville for a while. Lived in a place called Woodville up in Rappahannock County. If you're familiar with Rappahannock County.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I lived there for a few years. I'm originally born in Ohio. Grew up in New Jersey, Connecticut, and then came down to Virginia. Probably about 40 years ago, and stayed here. This was a great place for us to raise a family, and just loved it here. Stayed,
Yeah. When did music get a hold of your life? How did that happen?
Well, when I was very young, my grandfather played piano professionally. He played in orchestras and things like that, and it seems like there was always a piano in our house. And I was the oldest of the family, and I think the regimen was that I had to take piano lessons. So I started on piano lessons very, very early.
Yeah.
Classical music, and took lessons for a good number of years. I'm probably going to say probably about 8 years. And then I think one day I turned on the radio and heard Elton John or Little Richard, and I said, there's another way of playing this piano. and I just stopped the classical lesson. I didn't want to play Chopin anymore.
Yeah.
But that's, and then in high school, I played in different bands, different groups, even in college. I did the same thing. And that's really when I got started on.
Now, was that keyboard, guitar? What was your instrument of choice in those days?
Well, I feel most comfortable on keyboard.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm pretty competitive on keyboard. I play by ear. If the band starts playing, they just tell me what key, and I can pick it up.
Oh, cool!
And I also play guitar, but I'm self-taught on guitar, and I would never take a lead, but I can play the rhythm. You see, so I just if I'm going to live stream something, if I'm going to do it, it's most likely going to be on one of my keyboards, and I would do that. But I just I had that in the early part of my life, and then it stopped for a long time.
Okay.
And then about 9 years ago, I really started to get back into. I just started. I wrote my first song 9 years ago. And,
really? Okay.
Yeah, and I really just got into it and put together an album that I put out there, and it was just really meant for friends. I did send a couple of them out locally, and at there used to be a disc jockey up in Richmond, George Maida. He's no longer with us, but he used to have a show up there called the Electric Crowd.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I sent him a CD, and he sent me an email and said, "You're in the mix tonight."
Wow, awesome!
And I thought, oh my God, I couldn't believe it,
Yeah.
And so I can still remember so clearly, my wife and I kind of huddled around the radio, at 10 o'clock at night, wait for my song to come on.
Yeah.
And when it did, it was just such a rush, to hear that.
Yeah.
And, but that's how I got started. I thought, oh, gee, this stuff is easy.
Yeah. Well, we were kind of having a nostalgic conversation before we got started, and even just 9 or 10 years ago, the idea of trying to catch your song on the traditional radio, even on some guy's curated program, we've even kind of lost that these days. It's
sure it is, yeah.
Especially the young generation, the young artists. I don't even know if they completely understand the thrill of that, of being able to finally get a DJ who actually gets to pick his own music and play an artist like yourself who he finds worthy of putting into the mix.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's how I cut my teeth on that kind of stuff, and it was just like I thought, well, that's the path that you have to take. But then the further you get into it, you realize that the station managers have so much power,
right?
And above them, it's the advertisers that really have all the power.
Sure,
so
yeah.
You don't really, it's hard to get that kind of play.
Oh yeah.
But I put that out there, and then through some quirk of fate that I don't even remember how it happened, but a song from that first album got put on Delta Airlines on their, the music when you get on the flight.
Yeah, I saw that in your notes. That's cool.
Yeah, and I had a ASCAP up in New York. They emailed me, and they wanted to say, did you write this song, Andrea? And I said, yeah, I did. And I said, well, we have a check here for you. It was for $750.
Wow. Wow.
From that, and that was just so... It was luck.
Yeah.
What it was.
You have any idea how they got a hold of the song?
I'm not really sure how it was. I think there was a station on there called Hello Music at the time, or something like that is what it was. And they picked it up, and it actually we're in for 2 months.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
So that I thought that was pretty cool, but it was, believe me, it was all luck.
Yeah.
When I look back on it now, I think, well, that wasn't such a great song. Maybe nobody really listened to it, but it was just a very lucky circumstance.
Yeah, well, we can call it luck, and I certainly get the sentiment of that when you say that. But if you hadn't recorded the song, you would have never had the chance to have that lucky choice. So there's still some aspect of ingenuity behind it too. So.
Sure, no, I understand. I just, but I think what happened was that inspired me, to get better at it, to kind of look around, and there was a pretty good recording studio here in Virginia Beach. Rob Olsch runs that, and I started hanging out down there, and it was just like going back to school again. I just was very open-minded. I just kind of sit behind him and watch what he did while he was recording people, and he'd explain to me what it was. And I kind of learned I did that for about 2 years, whenever I could get over there. And I kind of learned about digital recording, how it works. And so that was a great experience. And then by the time I had put out my second album, I was actually flew over to London and was working with engineers over at Abbey Road.
Oh wow! Awesome.
On that, So I'm really kind of a timid person at heart, and I feel like I have to have all of the answers before I proceed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything by chance. I want to find out exactly what the experts know.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a step forward. So I consider myself very lucky that I feel myself privileged in being able to bring my music to people, and that's basically my story.
What drew you back in? I'm assuming life, family, career, all those kinds of things took you out of it. What drew you back in?
Well, that's a good question. I think what it is, all through school, I was always the guy who was the editor of the of the school newspaper
Okay.
in college. I
Yeah.
was the editor of the literary magazine and also on the newspaper. And then when I went to graduate school in Charlottesville at UVA, and actually published my first short story then at that time in the Virginia Quarterly Review. It was a guy by the name of Peter Taylor, who's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He was my mentor there.
Oh, cool.
And I was always on this path where I was going to be the writer, you know. And what happened was that when I first got done with school, I was, doing some writing. There used to be a magazine called Virginia Magazine. I don't think they're around anymore.
Yeah, I kind of remember that one. Yeah,
I used to write articles for them.
Okay.
And sometimes you'd spend 6 weeks writing on a short story, and somebody would publish it, and then you get a check for $75.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of it.
Sure. Yeah.
I just moved on to other businesses, did other things so I could eat.
Sure.
To feed the family. And then I came to a point in my life where the money was not that important anymore. And I just, I don't know whether the word is guilt or what, but I really had this feeling inside that there was something missing. That all through the first part of my life, my mother used to take me to the library every week to get books, and we read, and that was just always a big part of my life. If somebody wanted something written, they always came to me. And I just, I felt that was missing in my life,
Yeah.
And so that's when I guess probably about 9 or 10 years ago, I just sat down at the piano and started, so I said, let me see if I can write a few songs. Let me see how this works. And it just kind of took off from there. And, again, I just say I feel very lucky to have that in my life right now, because it really makes a lot of value to me.
Now, is this something that you have been able to focus on full time? Do you still have some sort of career job that you're doing and incorporate this into it, or how is music in your life today? How do you bring that out?
I do this full time now.
Yeah,
is
awesome.
What I do, and I had 2 different businesses set aside, and I had sold one of them, and I also have a book business that I've had for 25 years.
Okay.
And I'm still selling from that, and probably will be out of that business in another year or so. But it's given me the freedom, you see, to go ahead and just concentrate on the music.
Yeah.
And it's a full-time job, doing it when you consider all the different parts that are in it. And you and I were talking earlier, just about that you have to. You got to pluck the grapes from many vines. Is what has to happen, and so I script videos and I produce music videos.
Awesome.
Some of which have won film festivals.
Yeah.
And I write lyrics and send them off to other people and have them write the music for them. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
And it's a lot of work, is what it is.
It is. I think the listener who isn't also a musician, which lots of times listeners are musicians, even if they're just in their heart, but I don't think they appreciate the behind the scenes work. You hear a song on the radio, you hear a song on Spotify, you watch a group play at a festival, and you don't appreciate that what you're seeing on stage or hearing on the radio represents 5 or 10% of what it took to get that to that performance. It's
you are exactly right. I couldn't agree with you more. My favorite expression on that is that people don't realize how much work it goes into creating 3 minutes worth of music.
Yeah. Right.
Writing the song is the easy part.
Yeah.
Doing that. Then you've got all this other heavy lifting that has to go on to really to make it work. But there is a tremendous amount of work. I can remember, reading interviews with people, how long did it take you to write that song? Oh, we wrote that song in about an hour, and then we went and we recorded it, and I'm sitting there, you didn't really do that,
I saw an interview with Johnston from the Doobie Brothers the other day, and he was talking about, I think it was Oh Blackwater, maybe? I forget now. One of the songs.
Yeah,
but anyway, they kind of had the music. They'd been kind of using the music as a jam thing on stage, but they didn't have any lyrics. And somebody said, you guys need to record that song. Like, we don't have any lyrics. And he said, so we kind of made them up in the studio when we went in to record the song. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
If it wasn't that one, it was one of their big hits. And so, yeah, right. It's just like when you hear somebody do that, like, really?
Exactly. I read a thing about Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan were together, and Bob Dylan told Leonard Cohen how much he admired the song Hallelujah, and he asked him how long it took him to write it. And I think Cohen said something like, he's been working for 5 years or something.
Yeah.
And then Cohen asked Dylan, he says, well, how long did it usually take you to write a song? He says, well, about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it just, I just laughed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have had 3-4 albums already? And
I've got 3. I just put out the latest one. It's called Traveler Tales.
Is that the third or the fourth? Is that your third one?
That's the third.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my third one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just put that out, and what it is it's a collection of 14 songs. It's 14 travelers who are on a common journey, and
awesome.
They're each telling their stories.
Okay.
So you've got the veteran's tale, the mother's tale, that kind of thing. And they are done in different styles. I mean, some are in a folk style, an acoustic style. There are some songs that are in folk rock style, depending upon who's telling the story.
Okay.
And it's based very loosely. There's some literature. Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales, which was, where you've got all these different people on the journey, on a pilgrimage, and they're each telling their story. So that was just the vehicle that I borrowed on this,
that's cool.
That you would have all of these different people telling their story, and they're all sung in the first person. They're all first person narratives. Yeah. And it's been it's been doing surprisingly well. There's a song on there called Mother's Day, The Mother's Tale, which has really been doing very well. And I'm very, very pleased. I'm surprised.
I read in the notes that you guys sent over that had reached #1 on the South African iTunes Alternative Folk Chart. It just
there were 2 songs on it, and mine and somebody else's.
Okay.
And we weren't second.
I mean, congratulations, but it's just interesting how that song had to weave through all of the noise and all of the grapevines of artists and songs and songwriters to land on a South African chart at #1. It's just it's wild to see how that stuff works. But
it is wild. You're right. That song came out in September, and here we are in December now. And on the over in Europe on the digital radio charts, that song made it as high as #3.
Okay, awesome.
And I thought, but again, it's all independent artists.
Yeah,
it's all on digital stations. They say there's about 8,000 stations playing it, so I was very pleased with that.
That's cool.
But then I just got a notice the other day that in Ohio, that in Akron and Kent, in that area, there's a station there that has 19 affiliates, and they like the song so much that they have nominated for the Song of the Year.
Wow! Congratulations!
And that
cool.
just that floored me.
Yeah.
Because I'm originally from that area. All my relatives are. that area. I've got a lot of relatives in the ground in that area.
Yeah.
And it was just like a spiritual homecoming for me to hear that. So it just kind of keeps getting better, every week. And it's exciting to see,
That's very cool.
So it's been good.
What do you have plans, as much as you can make plans, to when the world opens up again? What does it look like to get out on the road and share this new record and get on stage with it?
I need to do that. The problem that I presented with right now is the fact that the guitarist on there that I work with, Toby Wilson, is over in England, and I need to find somebody locally. I would like to find a really good acoustic guitar player locally here that I can work with, and we can, I can teach him a 10-song set, and so that we can go out there and do that. I have to do that. I have to, in order for people to hear the music, and there's going to be a pent-up need for people to hear live music again.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the longer this goes on, I mean, everybody says, we think by April we'll be able to open the world again, and man, I hope so. I tell you, there's a lot of you guys and us guys that are hanging on, waiting on that to happen.
Absolutely, and I just see that with so many musicians that are doing live streaming, and they got GoFundMe's going and things like that because. You can't make it on the Spotify streams.
No.
The only way that you can really make money anymore is by getting out there and performing.
Yeah.
If you pay the rent, that's how you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I would like to do that very much. I need to. The thing I'm just kind of hampered by a little bit right now is I know of some good people locally, but because of quarantining and everything like that, we really can't get together in the same room.
Yeah.
Practice,
right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And see what we've got.
Yeah.
But it's necessary. I've got to do that.
Yeah. Well, we certainly wish you well with it. I really like the music and enjoyed talking to you. And what's the best way for folks to reach out to you? Social media, website, that kind of thing. They want to hear the new music and hear some of this new album that you've got.
Okay. Well, they can find my website at davidarn.com, and then of course I'm on Facebook. It's David Arn Music on Facebook, and I think it's David Arn Music on Spotify as well. That's how you can find it there.
And that's ARN, right?
ARN, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, good. Thanks, David. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
As I said earlier, you know that I really admire what you're doing, and I still don't know. You must be robbing banks at night in order to put out that magazine. That's a fine magazine you put out.
Yeah.
But I really have been doing it for a long time, and you really do it well. And so it's an honor for me to be talking to you right now. I
really appreciate that very much. Thank you. Coming from you and someone with a literary background, I appreciate that even more. So thanks a bunch.
Okay, great. Have a good one.
Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Americana Music Profiles. Find us on iTunes at Americana Music Profiles and on the internet at AmericanaRhythm.com.